Hey there, folks. I'm Matt Hansen,
And I'm John Johnson.
and you're listening to Planes, Trains, and Comic Books, the podcast where we discuss favorites we've reread, both classic and new comics we want to read, and everything else in between.
And here's the comic we picked this week.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Planes, Trains, and Comic Books. Today, we are reading the Spiral into Horror saga by Junji Ito. And I'm sorry, I said that wrong. Junji Ito. Junji Ito. And it's called Uzumaki is the name of the book.
Yeah, I was really pumped to read this because I really enjoyed Gyo.
Yeah, Gyo was very, very cool. That was the, if you don't remember, the fish robotic bioweapon monster thing. I don't know.
Yeah, if you didn't listen to that episode, go listen to it because it is worth it. It is so weird.
It's weird and creepy, and keeping informed, this is also weird and creepy.
Weird and creepy.
So, I'm sensing a theme with Junji Ito. Is weird and creepy is what he's going for.
I'm liking it though.
Yeah, very good stuff. This book is it's 600 pages though. It's a big fat boy, and it's 3 parts. It's all 3 parts we did. So I guess you might say this probably was released in 3 separate mangas or something.
Volumes.
3 separate volumes. We read all of them in one big volume. So, and that was the cool thing about this book is I've never seen any book like this in that format that it's in, where basically it is a Tales from the Crypt book if all the tales in that book tied together.
Yeah.
Like they all had the same thing. They all took place in the same city with the same people. But like this shit keeps happening to them.
Yeah,
So,
just
like,
every time there's something else crazy that happens.
Yeah.
Different from other stuff.
which I've never seen before. For like it's like basically a horror anthology, except the anthology is like completely tied together. It's kind of like American Horror Story, where like each season is its own season, except if each season had the same characters tied into each one or whatever.
Yeah.
And then we're going to Newtown, and then the Newtown other bad shit happens or whatever. So, but a very interesting premise. I liked it a lot. Very, very cool book. Very, very good art, as always with him. I will say it has 19 chapters, and they're all about 40 to 50 pages long. So that's why it's, so long. But a lot of them were so weird and interesting that they did kind of blow past. Some of them are a little slower in the reading, but for the most part, it was a pretty good, solid read.
Yeah, the whole thing as a whole was solid.
Yeah, as a piece of work itself, it was very good. But because it is so long, we don't have 4 hours to talk about this.
Yes.
We're going to do the beginning, like the setup and everything. We're going to pick our favorite stories out of that anthology that tell you, what's going on in the town or what's been going on to the main characters. And then we will wrap it up by talking about the last couple chapters. So that way we get the whole story for you guys. But you might want to go back and check them out because there's a lot of very interesting stories in here. So, like I said, it's a big book, but it's got the same characters. And those main characters are 2 young high school students. One is a girl named Kiri or Kiri. I don't know.
I think it was Kiri or Kyrie.
Kyrie. I think it's Kiri.
It's Kiri? Okay.
So
Kiri's
Kiri Goshima is her last name, and then she's got a friend who stopped going to her school but moved to a different school, mainly because he just didn't like the town. The town freaks him out so much. But his name is Suichi, and the beginning of this is like her waiting for him to come to the train station to visit. And we see them going, like as she's going to the train station to visit, we're seeing this weird stuff about this. Yeah, the first couple chapters are called The Spiral Obsession. And this is like part 1 and 2 of The Spiral Obsession is the very first couple chapters. And it's called that because as she walks through the town, you see there's just fucking spirals everywhere. All the grass, it gets long, and as it gets longer, it starts to spiral, turn into a little wheel. Yep. And then like as she's going through the town, there's like a little dust devil that kicks up in it because she's like starts to run, and then the wind out of nowhere just creates a little tornado, a little dust devil. And then as she's walking past an alley, she sees Suichi's father, and he's like mesmerized by something. He's like on the ground looking. She's like, "What the hell? That's weird. Like his son's on his way." he's not even like paying attention to that. Then she goes over and sees that he's looking at a snail shell that is a spiral. And so yeah, basically just spirals are a thing in this community.
We don't know why.
We don't know why, and for some reason, Suichi's dad is really, really into them.
Really into them.
So she's waiting at the bus station or the train station, I guess, and Suichi comes and they start talking, and he's automatically like weird. He's like a weird kid. He's like already freaked out about spirals. He's like, I don't like this town. I'm getting like freaked out already just for being here. Like we should really get the fuck out of here and like not be here. I kind of just came back to kind of try to convince you to leave with me, if possible. But basically that doesn't happen because we see he's been there for a couple days already. And now his dad, Suichi's dad, is asking her dad, who is a local pottery guy, like, hey, you make spirals? You make spiral pottery? He's like, what do you mean? He's like, like a plate that just has like a spiral on it. He's like, I could. He's like, I'll pay you whatever you want. He's like, okay, no problem. And
he's like, good, because I love spirals.
I love them. I love these things. So he's just super into spirals, and it just gets worse and worse and worse until he basically has he has been neglecting going to his job. He's so he's not going to work. He's not providing for his family. He just sits in his room full of spiral paraphernalia.
Yeah, there's like spiral
wallpaper, hats,
shirts,
umbrellas that have it on there and everything. So and anything that has this little pattern on it, he gets. And then he's talking about Suichi's talking to Kiri about it, like, oh, he's gone like super crazy because the other day he was like mad that mom didn't put the little spiral crackers in his soup, and he's like, oh, don't worry about it. Yeah, no spiral fish cakes. He's like, don't worry about it. I'll make my own spirals. So he starts doing his own spirals where he makes spirals with the chopsticks in the soup. So it's spiraling around. It
spins real fast, yeah.
Yeah, and then the same with the bath water. He spins it before he goes in it, and he just sits in it like, spirals. And then the weirdest thing ever, he shows them, when he confronts them when they're like, Dad, you need to stop thinking about spirals, because the mom actually throws away all his
throws away. She's like, you're not going to work anymore. Like, this is obsessing. Yeah. You need to get back and providing his family. I'm throwing away your spirals.
This is an intervention.
Yes.
I'm throwing away your spirals. And he freaks out, and he's like, you know what? I don't need them, because look at this. I can make my eyes spiral. And then he proceeds to take off his glasses and make each one of his eyeballs go opposite directions of the other, spiraling around and around.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Very, very, very creepy.
Very creepy.
Very creepy drawings. And he's just showing Kiri, like, look, my eyes are spinning. And everybody, I mean, at that point, I'd be like, it's time to take Dad to the hospital, to the padded wall room with you, that can't be good. But anyway, then Kiri comes by with the pottery that he asked for. He's like, oh, my dad finished. Like, here it is. Oh, I totally forgot that I ordered that. I don't really need it anymore, because check this shit out. Look what I can do now. He's like, I've been working on it. And he fucking sticks his tongue out like Gene Simmons. And but unlike Gene Simmons, he wraps it in a spiral.
Yeah, it looks like a chameleon tongue, basically.
Yeah, basically he's turning into a chameleon. His eyes are going opposite ways and everything. Although chameleons don't make him go into spirals very often, I don't think.
That's true.
But their tongue is. His tongue just spirals out. It is like a big, fat, ugly tongue, too. So she freaks the fuck out. Like, what the hell? And then we find out his dad actually passed after he got a weird delivery. So they were at the funeral. We just cut to a funeral basically after this delivery man shows up, and he's getting cremated right on the spot of this funeral. So I guess maybe in Japan they have a funeral and then they just literally wheel the body into the cremation oven or whatever and have it that way. And so she's like, what happened, And basically they find out that delivery was this weird box, a round box. That's I guess you can spin from the inside.
Yeah, and there's it was a big round tub kind of thing.
Yeah, so he would get inside of it and he just started spinning it from the inside, and it basically just stretched his body into one big spiral until he died inside of it and couldn't move anymore. And they show that.
They take the lid off, and it is so creepy.
Yeah, just his whole body is contorted into a big taffy or whatever. Like he just looks like he's.
It looks like when you got those old bubble tapes and you could open the side and see all in there rolled up. That's exactly what it made me think of.
Wow. Now that, if you remember bubble tapes, you are a fucking 90s kid right there. That shit is yeah. Along with Cookie Crisp, fuck yeah.
Hell yeah.
And Jello Jigglers, fuck yeah.
Never a big fan of Jello, but I did like to make them jiggle.
Who doesn't like to make them jiggle?
Yeah, my dad would always get pissed off because we'd make Jello, and he loves Jello. He's been an old man since Red Heart forever, and I didn't want the Jello, and so he'd put extra on his plate, and then I would like move the table so the whole table jiggled while he's trying to eat. I was like, I'm trying to make it the Jello.
So what I'm hearing is, even as a child, you were horribly annoying.
Yes.
Okay. So spirals. Anyway, so that's what happened. That's how his dad died, and he tells Kiri that. And then, as they're burning his body in the cremation oven, the smoke goes up and it spirals in the sky. And everybody's like, "What the fuck?" My father's ashes, like the smoke, are spiraling up, and then they spiral down into the lake in the middle of the town, which is very weird. And so it's just like this weird thing. And then also, like, his fucking face appears like the Mummy or some shit.
Yeah.
Like literally like, spiral. And like, there's this crazy shit happening.
The mom is like, Suichi's mom is like, oh my fucking God, I cannot get away from these spirals.
Yeah, she basically has a break. She makes, she has a mental break. They put her in the hospital. She makes the nurse, like, take out the bun in her hair because it's a spiral. Anything that's a spiral, the mom has to get rid of. So she cuts her hair off. She starts shaving her head. She notices that her fingers have spirals on the fingerprints, so she cuts off her fingerprints, like with scissors.
Yeah, and oh my gosh.
Like by herself. Like, yeah, like this is super fucked up. Then she keeps having dreams about like the dad and stuff and spirals.
He's like, come be a spiral with me.
Yeah. And so just everything's terrible. And then the mom one day is talking with Suichi to a doctor as they're like, yes, like I'm going to get this treatment and that treatment. And he's like, oh, you're still afraid of spirals? She's like, yeah, not as bad as I was, but it's definitely there still. And then Suichi looks at the wall. There's a poster of the human body. And you see inside the head, there's the little cochlear bone or whatever. And that is it's a spiral.
It's a spiral.
In your ear. So he automatically is like, we need to get the fuck out of this room.
We're leaving this room. And his mom's like, why? He's like, I don't know. You just got to get out of here.
No reason, because he knows if she finds out there's a spiral in her head, she's going to fucking cut in her head to get it out. Or whatever. And so he spends all this time to try to get her to not see it. And keep in mind, like, her hands are completely bandaged now because she's cut off her fingerprints.
She has like a little hat on to protect her head. She's got like mittens on over her hands. They're just trying to keep her as safe as possible at this point.
Yeah. And so one night, and this was creepy because I always thought this was going to happen like in Hawaii when I lived there. Oh. But she's sleeping in her room, her hospital room, and a centipede, not a cockroach or like a small thing.
Okay, centipede.
Not an earwig.
Yeah.
This is a fucking centipede that's like, I don't know, 8 inches long, crawls in her ear, starts to crawl in her ear, which would be terrifying because, goddamn, they bite and they hurt like a motherfucker. So if it bit in your ear, I can't even imagine what that feel like. But it gets in her ear. She wakes up. She's like, oh, my God, what the fuck? And pulls it out before it, like, bites her or anything. Then she's like, oh, my God, it's trying to get in my ear because there's a spiral in my ear. And then she keeps seeing, like, Suichi's dad spiraling. He's like, join us or whatever, join us with the spirals.
Be a spiral.
There's a spiral in your body. And he's like, it's inside your ears, deep inside your ears. And so she starts asking, like, hey, is there a spiral in my
spiral? And they're like, what are you talking about?
Why would there be a spiral in your head? That's crazy talk, Mom. And then the mom's like, starts to run out of her room and goes down the hallway to the doctor that they were talking to before, where they had the poster of the human body. And luckily, the doctor, Suichi had gone and told the doctor, hey, get that fucking poster out of here. She's going to see it and she's going to try to stab her fucking ears out. And so he had removed it that day. And then she came in and was like, oh my God, where's that poster? He's like, what poster? I never had a poster.
Oh, he's like, oh, that was old. We have updated posters now that were coming.
So she does not end up seeing that. But when she's sleeping later that night, the nurse puts her on an IV drip, and it's like an old school one that's in like a glass bottle.
Yeah, that's cool.
And as she's looking at it, all of a sudden the water starts to spiral, because there's like a suction, and then she starts seeing her husband in the spiral in the water, and then he's like, there are spirals in your ear. And so then the spiral goes down into her veins almost, and she pulls it out before it goes into her vein. And then she's like, oh my God, it is in there. There's got to be in my ears. So she takes scissors, and we don't see it. But basically, the next time you see a picture of her, her face is covered, and she has punctured her eardrums with scissors to get these spirals out of her head. The problem is it is a big joke because when you do that, you get extreme vertigo because you popped your eardrums, and now the whole world is a spiral. She's just spinning in a room.
Everything is spinning now.
Everything's a spiral. So basically, she was tricked into being a spiral. So like I was like, this is literally a Tales from the Crypt episode.
Oh yeah, because it's not even necessarily like hoodoo-y that, at the end she literally just gets vertigo so bad the world spins.
Yeah.
Because she fucking fucked herself up because she was going crazy.
Exactly.
So yeah, it was so creepy.
It's creepy. And then, okay, this is a creepy one too. So the next story is about, and this is the weird thing. So the only thing I thought was weird about this, the girl, Kiri, she's the narrator of this whole thing. She's very nonchalant and blasé as she narrates, but then in the story she's very emotive.
Yeah.
But then as she's talking, it's kind of like she's almost as if she's saying it from the future, like the spiral took over and this is what happened. Like not emotional at all. Yeah. And so it was very wait, is she narrating this like this for a reason kind of thing? Like it just felt weird that she's so indifferent about what's going on. And then also she's still in the town. She's still doing things. Like Suichi's parents just went crazy, and she's like, anyway, back to school.
Going to school the next day.
To school. I got this girl who's annoying or whatever. So basically, she's back at school. Like we said, she's making friends. There's a girl,
Azami.
Yeah. I don't even remember her name because this is just each one of these is kind of like girl with spot on her head or whatever.
Yeah.
But, basically, there's a girl who all the guys are into, and they're like, I don't know why. I'm just that girl. We all know that girl, you fucking bitch. And she,
wow.
That's what all the girls. That's all the girls say.
Yeah.
All the guys are into her.
Yeah.
But all the girls are like, that fucking bitch.
You know who you are out there.
Yeah, you know who you are. So there's just that girl that all the guys always kind of just go towards.
Yeah.
Right?
And
they're drawn to.
Yeah, she got a bad reputation from it because she basically runs through boys because they all like her, so she goes from one to the next.
Yeah, and so basically she has bangs, and then a rumor starts did you know under her bangs there's a little spot on her forehead or whatever, like a mark, and it's that's the secret. That's why the boys are attracted to her or whatever.
It's
and
some kind of witchcraft or something, right?
Yeah, and then Kiri actually sees it because her bangs part on a PE class one day, and there's just a little tiny spot. It looks kind of like a crescent moon or something.
Yeah, it's just like a little scar, it looks like, basically.
Yeah. No biggie. Nothing wrong with that. But, she does acknowledge, yeah, boys are just, drawn to me, and it's weird. I don't know why. And then she takes her over to visit Shuichi, and he's he's like, hey, what's going on? And, because, I'm assuming he's not going to school because his fucking parents died.
Yeah.
Or not died, but his mom's incapacitated and his dad's dead.
Yeah.
So he's just
he's taking some time at least. Yeah.
Yeah. So he looks terrible when they come over, and he instantly looks at her and he's like, "Get the fuck out of my house! Go away!" Because she is exuding spiral energy apparently, and that is the energy that apparently is attracting all these boys. He tells her "Don't ever come over again. You are fucking out of here. You're not allowed to come here."
Really messes with her. She's like, this is the first boy that's never been instantly attracted to me.
Basically, he's nagging her, and she is like, I am into it. She's instantly I need to try to chase this boy down and figure out why he doesn't like me. And so, yeah, seriously, that's what this is, except it's like a horror version of negging where he's not trying to do it for sexual reasons. She's not trying to haunt him for sexual reasons. It's just, well, her is a little bit more why aren't you attracted to me, and why do you hate me so much or whatever. But he is
he's just
I'm just freaked out by your fucking scar that you're putting forward energy, and then it turns out like originally the scar was just kind of putting out lines, like wavy lines that he could see. But then the more she like tries to get him to like her, the scar like actually becomes a spiral. Like it grew together and then it started
Just
spiraling
a little
outward.
spiral in the center of her head.
Yeah. And so now she is exuding like this spiral energy. And then so she kind of freaks out and is like, what's going on? Like, why won't he like me? And then the next time we see her, like she goes away. Next time we see her, the spiral is literally like the size of a silver dollar on her forehead. But it is concave.
Yeah.
It is now like in her fucking head. It's not like on the outside of her skin or like a scar.
It's not like what a tattoo or a scar would be. Like,
yeah, it is like deep penetrated into where her brain would be if I mean,
I assume it's in her. Yeah, it would be into her brain at this point.
Wherever the fuck her brain is. So yeah, and so people are seeing that she's kind of embarrassed or whatever because she's like, "Oh my god, what's wrong with my face now?" And then, like, she kind of disappears for a while. Then she comes back. She's got a hat on. We're like, "What's going on?" She takes her hat off. And this is the creepiest fucking thing. This is a super creepy drawing. This is on shirts and shit, by the way, for this book. I was like, why would you wear that shirt? That is a terrifying shirt. But she takes her hat off to show Kiri, like, this is what I look like now. My eye's been really itchy lately. And then it's creepy because it's off center too. The spiral has gone off center on her forehead, and now one of her eyes is just hanging on by
the ligaments,
a little bit, or whatever, connective tissue. And it's about to get sucked into her. In fact, it does get sucked into her spiral as she's talking to Kiri. And she's like, I just don't know. I'm so ugly now and all this stuff. And like all the boys used to love me and everything. And then she goes over to the boys and she takes her hat off again. And now her whole fucking face, all her eyes and nose are gone. She's got this spiral, and now she's talking to them, and she's like, hey, what's going on? They're like, what? Get away from us. And then, like, they freak out, and they're like, what happened to you? And then she sucks them into her with her head.
Yeah, and they start to spiral into her, basically.
Basically they just get pulled into her spiral. And
I like
Shuichi's like, get the fuck out of there, Kiri.
The one panel is, like, her standing there with, like, her arms flailing, and then, like, just legs of a guy like slowly going into her head.
Yeah. And
like
then,
a wood chipper or something.
Yeah, exactly. Like a wood chipper. And then she like pulls herself into herself. Like so her arms slowly get pulled into herself. Just like her eyeball.
Yeah.
And then like she slowly just her legs and everything just pulls into herself. So pretty creepy. Pretty creepy.
She spirals into herself and spirals basically into nothingness.
Yeah. And then we get like, more stories like that. Like basically there's a couple really, really good ones in the middle where there's one's called Medusa, and it is like really creepy because I mean it's not super creepy. The next one's even really creepy, but this one is more like kind of interesting and funny, but also like what the fuck? It was the first one I was like, oh, this is like a weird thing. Okay. But basically, Kiri, this is like the first time she's affected by something, which is like the different thing, right?
Yeah.
So she wakes up and her hair just starts growing long randomly, like extra long. And people would note, hey, your hair looks good long. She's like, oh, thanks. And then before she knows it, it just starts curling on the bottom into little spirals. And everybody kind of notices it. It's like, oh, you're starting a new like fashion trend, and everyone's like, ooh, that's cute or whatever. People start noticing it, and then there's a girl. What's the girl's name?
It's one of her friends. It's
There's a lot of girlfriends in this book.
Yeah,
that are
quote unquote
bitches. But anyway,
Sakino.
I don't know. It doesn't matter.
I think it's Sakino.
Sakino. So Sakino is very like aware of the curls and the attention she's getting.
Yeah, she's like, I'm so jealous of you, Kyrie. That's so cute. Like, haha. Like, I wish I got attention like you.
Yeah, and then she even like, Kiri's like, oh my god, like I'm sick of the way people are like fawning over it or whatever. So she goes to like a hairdresser to try to get it cut, and the hair actually comes alive and attacks the hairdresser.
Yeah.
Like straight up monster, like literally Medusa style, like coming out like more like the Inhumans Medusa.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So But yeah, it's very interesting the way it just comes alive to like. It also attacks Kiri. Like it's like if you ever fucking
How dare
do
you
this
try to-
again, yeah. Like all of a sudden her hair is an adamant or not inanimate. It's a aware object of her body that's
It's sentient hair.
yeah, exactly. It's sentient. And so it starts going crazy. And now it's like
I love this.
it just like starts instead of hanging down and curling, it just now it's up and it's like big.
It makes me feel like
curls.
It made me think of like Dr. Seuss. Like
Yes.
like a very much like a Dr. Seuss character, like or like the trees.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Very much so. Like and so but apparently it like will hypnotize people like when they look at her hair spirals too much and stuff.
Like, oh, and that's why they're looking at her more now. They're basically like hypnotized, like, oh, her hair. Oh.
Yeah. And so like she hates it though. And so her friend gets all jealous and her friend's like, "Oh yeah. Well, look at this." And then she comes to school a day with even bigger spiral hair. Her hair is black.
Her hair is black, and it's got spirals now too. And they're both like,
yeah, the hairs do not like each other.
The hairs are.
I thought it was funny. They literally had like a fight. Like
Yeah, there's like a circle that forms
of
around
kids
them.
in school, and then their hairs are fighting. Now we will say both bodies of these ladies or these young women, they like, they're looking pretty rugged or rough. You know, like they're looking drained of energy.
Yeah, very very lethargic. And
Bags under their eyes, like kind of eyes sunken into their skulls and stuff. Very sweaty. So you're like, oh, okay, maybe it's just because of the fight or whatever. But they start fighting, and it becomes very apparent that Kiri is not she's not going to win this one, and it just seems like it's not going to go good. But Suichi runs in with scissors.
He's like, I'm gonna save you, and he comes in with scissors.
And her hair wraps him up in it, and so she loses because of that.
Yeah, he gets cocooned.
Yeah, and so he actually is able to cut himself out, and he cuts her hair so that she escapes from this horrible, horrible hair monster. And then her friend is like, I'm so popular. Look at me. Everybody loves me.
No, I'm the most pretty.
But she is looking rough after this. So basically, as she's walking through like the town with her followers, all of a sudden her hair starts wrapping around a telephone pole. And then we realize, kind of there's a little voiceover that says like Suichi explaining to Kiri what happened is, well, the hair actually started growing and it was sucking all the nutrients out of you to grow and move like that and everything. So it was using all your energy like a battery, just sucking you dry. So basically, once it got to this telephone pole and just started climbing up it like a bunch of vines or something, it killed her friend Kiri, and then, it killed Kiri's friend, the one that challenged her, and she then is stuck there like a dead skeleton hanging from her hair, and the hair is like, ooh, finally I'm like attached to something high and big, and like that's what I wanted. Kind of like it reminded me of those like parasites of like ants that like it's like a fungus that grows out of their head or whatever.
Oh yeah.
But like climb to the top, ants. Like I want to be on the top of this leaf.
Up high, yeah.
Yeah, and so it like makes the ant do that so it can like spore on the top of the thing or whatever. So it's very interesting.
The next one was one of my favorites.
The next one was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
This was a creepy ass one. The Medusa one was interesting just because it was the first time one of the main characters had been literally affected by the spirals themselves.
The actual character, not like their family.
Yeah. And so Kiri now has short hair because, she's not trying to get spirals again. Also, this is the first, if you look at the books, the way they're broken up, this is the first story in the second, it would be in the second
book, yeah.
So the first book is like the intro and kind of like getting you introduced to like this whole spiral idea and the way that we're going to tell these stories. And then book 2 hits you hard with this one. First one. So we see there's this kid that's at their school who's very, very, very annoying. He likes to run out of nowhere and be like, "Boo, Jack in the Box," and they call him the Jack in the Box, and just because he's like that. But he's got a thing for Kiri.
Yeah, his name is Mitsuri.
Okay, so Mitsuri, everybody calls him the Jack in the Box because he'll jump out of nowhere and he's got a crush on her. So he's like always trying to be around her and stuff. And like no matter where they're at, he'll just jump out of nowhere, scare her. And he's kind of a dumbass too because like he'll knock over her books and be like, haha, no, my bad, and like run away. And you're like, well, thanks for the fucking help, dickhead. Like,
it's weird because he apologizes some of the time. He's like, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to do that. See you later.
It seems like he's just super immature.
Yeah.
Like maybe he's a couple classes younger than her or something.
Something like that.
But But anyway, so he surprises her one day while she's in town, and he's like, "I got you a present," and she's like, "Oh, I mean, I can't really accept this. Like, I don't.
Yeah, I
I
don't
mean,
really
we're not,
like you like that.
yeah, like I wouldn't want you to get the wrong idea." And he's like, "No, no, it's fine. Don't worry." And he's like, "I will always like you no matter what." And she's like, "No, I get. I mean, I don't want you to like me like that because nothing's gonna happen." And then he's like, "No, look. I'll show you. I'll show you how much like
This is
I love you. I'll stop this car with my love.
my love will stop this car that's barreling towards me.
Yeah, and he just jumps into the street, and this is like a fucked up panel. He literally gets run over where his body gets stuck under the wheels of this car.
Under this car, and the car like crashes into like a wall too. And this is a gruesome panel.
Yeah, but this child gets just drugged and pulled up under the so he's on the top part of the interior wheel well.
Yeah,
because his body just got sucked up by the tire as it was rolling.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and so that kid dies. Obviously, gets buried. Now I don't know if this is something, but this is like an actual thing in Japan or not. But there is a window on his coffin that might just be because of the story, or maybe it's a traditional Japanese thing. I don't know. But there's literally like a little hatch, like a door on his coffin where his face would be. So maybe it's a viewing window or something. I don't know. But it comes to play later on.
Yeah.
So, but basically, she's sitting in her house. She's like freaking out, like having fucking visions of this kid killing himself for her.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
I know. I can't even imagine that too.
Yeah.
Oh. And like literally got like shivers from this one.
Yeah. And so she sees the present he gave her. She's like, well, I might as well open it. And he's like, with love, Mitsuru. And she opens the box, and it's a fucking Jack in the Box. And she's like,
oh, great.
Just what I always wanted. And she's talking to Shuichi on the phone, and he's like, don't, it's not your fault. You couldn't have done anything. Don't worry about it. And then she's on the phone, and she hears, it is your fault. And she's like, what the fuck? And she turns around, and that Jack in the Box that was all like cute and everything a second ago is staring at her, and it's got the fucking creepiest face ever.
Yeah.
He's like, he died for you, didn't he? And now he'll come back for you. And she's like, what the fuck? So I guess because of that, her and Shuichi are like, I guess we'll have to go see his grave and make sure he doesn't like come back. And they go to his grave, and it doesn't look like it's been disturbed or anything. So like, okay, well, I mean, I guess I'll dig it up.
Yeah, it was weird. They're like, they go and they're like, I guess we got to dig it up to make sure.
Yeah. So they dig it up. The viewing window pops open. He's like, whoa, okay. I mean, probably just gas built up or something in it and pops open. And then all of a sudden his fucking head pops out, and then his whole body explodes the coffin, and he just starts like bobbing around and jumping around and following her. And his whole body's like pieced together like Frankenstein. He looks fucking terrifying. Because they had to like sew him together, because he was so tore up and everything. So he just starts bouncing at them like boing,
Yeah, he like
boing.
springs out of them.
Yeah. And as he's doing that, all the fucking sutures are tearing. So like his intestines are falling out.
Yeah, a leg falls off.
Arms falling off. Like just parts of his body are just falling off because of the stress of doing this. And then he's still coming at them after her like as a torso.
And they're like, how the hell is he doing this?
And then all of a sudden he hits like the ground, and you see there's like a giant spring inside of his torso, and it's bouncing. It's letting him bounce at them. Then we find out once he falls, the spring pops out of his body, and that was the only thing keeping him alive. Like the tension of the spring inside that box had made him
spiraled
jump
spring.
up. Yeah, and so yeah, basically it was just like the automobile suspension spring that got stuck in his body.
That is so creepy.
Yeah, that they just like I guess crammed into that what's it called, coffin, and that caused him to have all that energy pent up, like because he wasn't alive. It was just his body
It's like I guess the gas escaping and whatnot.
Yeah. And so like he wasn't speaking or anything. So yeah, but that was super fucking creepy. that he just like comes alive. And then I wasn't going to talk about this one, but John actually liked this one. The next one.
Yeah, I'll just a quick shout out to it because it was fun. It was called The Snail, and it was a little slower going, but basically,
no pun intended.
The kids are at school, and then for some reason, every time it rains is when they see this one kid come to school, and he always comes to school, and he is like wet and soaked, and he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry that I'm all soaked and wet, but I made it to school today." And the teacher's like, "Why do you always only come to school when it's wet? That's weird." And all the kids are making fun of him. He's slow, and he only comes when it's wet. He's a weirdo, so he basically he only comes when it's wet and raining outside. And then
wait, how does he come again?
When it's wet. And so it comes the next day too, and his clothes are all wet again.
It's like monsoon season or something. So he's been coming to class more often now.
And the next time he comes, his back is like swelling up, and there's a spiral that people can see because his shirt is all like tight to his body because of that. And he gets bullied one day at in class, in like a gym class. And they push him out into the hallway and like naked. They like rip his clothes off and whatnot. And people can see like the spiral, like kind of like shell kind of starting on his back, it looks like. And he like creeps and like just like slugs his body, quote unquote, back into the bathroom. Is really weird.
Yeah.
And then it shows the next day he comes to school. And when he comes into the classroom, he's on the ground, like sliming his way in. And he literally is on all fours. And now there is a full shell.
He's dragging his dick on the ground.
Yeah.
Completely naked.
And he's dragging this. He has a big shell on his back now. It's like actually protruding out. A snail shell.
And then the next time it rains, he's actually at school and he's just climbing up the building like a snail does in the rain, like vertically.
Yeah.
He's climbing up, like sliming up the building. And his eyes pop out like a snail. He just totally becomes a snail, basically. And yeah, like they're trying to figure out like how to get him and whatnot. And they just end up like putting him in, like he's a school mascot.
They're like we're gonna take care of your kid, basically. And they keep him in like a cage. And then like the one kid that was bullying him so much, something happens to him, and he like drinks some water or something one day, and he starts to become a snail over like the course of the next couple days that week.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, okay, well now you got a buddy, and they put them both in there, and then they mate because snails
are hermaphrodites.
Yeah, they have both. And so they mate and they have babies, and they dig their way out and like crawl up into like the mountains to like lay their snail eggs.
And then they find the eggs and they smash them.
The teacher's like, we got to destroy all these.
And the teacher smashes them. Then the next day he comes to class and he's all slugged out.
Yeah.
He's all snailed out. So just, repeating snails.
Yeah, it was really like weird, and I kind of not like out of place, but it was an odd story for sure.
Yeah, I wasn't sure why this. Like, I'm like, that's a weird one, But like, I kind of like it though because you get this super fucked up, Jack in the Box one. Then you get this weird, like, okay, snail kid,
snail people,
interesting. And then you get this next one is like the Black Lighthouse, which I like this one a lot. There's just a lighthouse in this town, and
it's been empty for years.
It's been empty, but it still comes on at night, and the light is like super, super powerful light, more than it had been before, and it's shooting out these spiraling lights like heaven's fire or some shit, like just like.
Yeah, it made me think of like Dragon Ball Z. It looked like blasts.
Yeah, it looks like Vegeta's fucking cannon. Or whatever, like just like Jesus Christ. Like,
it looks really intense.
So like everybody's kind of interested in like how it's working since it's been like going now, and also it's making it's so bright it's keeping everybody up at night. No one can sleep, so people are trying to figure out how to like turn it off. So some men go there to try to figure out how to turn it off, and they never come back. And then Kiri goes with her little brother and like is it her brother and like nephew or just like a friend?
It's a small group of the friends. They go. Kiri doesn't want to go, but her brother goes, so she goes with him to like make sure he's.
That's
okay.
Right. There's like her brother and a couple like 3 other boys.
Yeah.
So
we're going to see what's in the lighthouse.
Yeah. So they go to the lighthouse, and it's it's a big spiral staircase. Up to the light. So she keeps going up these spiral stairs, and they just seem to last forever. Like nothing's moving. And then as she's walking up there, you see all this graffiti that's just spirals all over the place, and it just makes her get lost until she comes to one step, and it's like you can tell the stone is blackened, like the stone has been burned, and then you see these bodies, these adult bodies, because it turns out the men who were in there before just fucking burnt to a crisp, and the kids, I guess, walked past these dead bodies. Which, if I was a kid, I'd be like, all right, I'm walking back now because
time to go back.
I'm not going over these dead bodies that are burnt to a crisp. But they picked a bad time to go to this place because it is about to become sundown. That light is about to turn on, and these boys are trapped now at the top of this place. And we see the lamp. She goes up to the top, and the lamp in this lighthouse is a big spiral lens on both sides now, like on two sides, which is why I guess it's like a magnifying glass for the bulb inside. So the bulb, that's why the intensity is so crazy or whatever. It's not supposed to do that, obviously. And so so they're like, okay, well, now we know why it's like that. How do we turn it off? And then she realizes what time it is. And she's like, oh my God, we got like 15 minutes until sun's down and this thing turns on.
Yeah.
We have to get the fuck out of this building because we're going to end up like those guys that are right there. And so she tells them to leave. And of course, they're a bunch of dumb fucking kids, and they're, slow and everything. And as the sun goes down, they're about to like just make it out of that, staircase, and it lights up, and the fucking fire comes down the stairwells, and it burns. Was it like 3 of the kids, right? Like to death?
Yeah, 3 of them to death, and then Kiri and her brother they
get out, but they have horrible burns.
Horrible burns, yeah.
And like it literally shows the kids burning to death.
Burning in, yeah.
Holy fuck. So, yeah, but her and her brother are able to survive. But then, so she's got to go to the hospital, as you do when you get burns. So she goes to the hospital, and we get the most fucked up story, I think, in this.
Oh, yeah.
It's called Mosquitoes. And in this...
It took a turn that I did not expect.
I did not see this happening at all. Basically, I thought it was going to be about mosquitoes.
Exactly.
Because they started off with her in the hospital, and there's all these fucking mosquitoes everywhere, and they're always flying in weird spiral patterns and stuff. Instead of flying straight, they're always like in spiral patterns. So, and they make you fall asleep, but they make you drowsy when that happens too. So, and then there's a bunch of mosquitoes like attacking in like big groups on people, and they actually find dead bodies with these bodies have holes in them that look like mosquitoes that would be the size of a chihuahua or something.
Yeah, like they would be huge mosquitoes.
Yeah, and so you're like, whoa, those aren't mosquito bites, but we just saw a whole big thing of mosquitoes come from this area, so that's weird. Then all of a sudden, there's all these pregnant women that are showing up randomly that all have these weird mosquito bites on them. They're like, okay, and then in one of the ladies, Kiri knows, and she's like, oh,
it's her cousin.
It's her cousin, Keiko. Is it Keiko?
Kiko. Keiko. It's just written. We don't see that. We don't know how it's pronounced. So
we're 2 white guys.
Yes.
I'm gonna say it's Keiko.
Okay, I'll go with Keiko.
Keiko.
So Keiko's pregnant too.
Yeah, so Keiko's pregnant, and she got this mosquito bites on her, and then also, as Kiri is putting away her things from her suitcase, she's like, "What the fuck is this?" And I was like, "What the fuck is that?" It is wrapped. This is something wrapped in cloth, I guess, but very tightly. I mean, at first I was like, "Is that some sort of dildo or something?" What the fuck are we looking at here? I don't know what Junji Ito's into.
It kind of looks like almost kind of like a maybe like a question mark.
A handlebar?
Handlebars.
She's about to trick her bike out or something?
It was weird. I wasn't sure what it was either. Know if it was for something for the baby or something. I don't know. It was weird.
Yeah, but that night in the hospital, someone dies horrifically from the mosquito bites again. And once again, I'm saying mosquito bites, but these are way bigger than mosquito bites.
You could stick your finger in the hole.
Yeah.
It's that big. It's like that diameter around.
That's the creepiest thing you've ever seen.
Excuse me. Anyway, so she goes to check on her cousin again the next day. She's like, "Oh man, did you hear about the guy that died?" She's like, "Yeah, that's horrible and crazy."
Yeah, but through the days, it seems like her cousin is feeling better. like through the whole thing. And until
Suichi comes in there at 2 to like visit his friend Kyrie, and he brings bug spray. He's just like, oh, these all mosquitoes everywhere. Ah,
yeah, and that makes the pregnant women sick, of course. So
yeah, they're like, oh,
get the fuck out of here with that shit. So then one night, Kiri is sleeping in the hospital with Keiko, and she wakes up and she hears a buzzing noise, like, zzz, and she's like, "Oh, it's mosquitoes or whatever, right?" And I think it's more like, like it's supposed to sound like high pitched buzzing, not just zzz. And so she looks around the hospital, and all of a sudden she sees a bunch of these pregnant women walking around, and she like hides in she's like in one of the rooms. She hides in the room because in the hall, all these pregnant women, their eyes are like rolled back in the back of their heads. They look like they're wearing fucking masks or something, like purge masks or some shit.
Yeah.
But they're not. They're just under some weird spiral spell or some shit.
Yeah.
And they all have hand drills. Now, if you don't know what a hand drill is, okay, so before power tools, to drill a hole into wood, you had to have this thing called a bit and a brace, and that's basically what they have. It's a thing you move with your hand in a circular motion and hold it down with the other hand really hard into the wood so that it will drill with a bit into the wood around hole. And so they have these things in their hands, and that also realize, if you remember the package that her cousin had,
it's in the same shape
as those. So they're walking through the halls, and they start attacking people by like stabbing them with these fucking screwdrivers and drilling holes into them and then drinking their blood like vampires or some shit. She actually confronts one of them, and they're like, "You've seen us," and they like go after her and shit. It's very, very, very creepy. And
they can do this little like spiral thing, and it makes people with their fingers. And then if someone's awake, that basically makes them tired.
Yeah, like the mosquitoes were doing.
Yeah.
You know?
And they're like, "Yes, we will have your blood."
Yeah, and then the funny thing is, they eventually, like, they forget about her because there's some other person that drills into another girl or whatever, and
they're
they
like,
get blood.
Fresh blood.
Yeah, and so they forget about her, and then one of them's like, "Someone saw what I did. We have to stop the girl." And then like they remember her again, so they're chasing after her. Then she goes into Kiko's room, and Kiko comes in, and she's actually got the fucking. She's like, "Help me!" And she's got one of those things too, and she tries to go after her as well. It's like fucking ain't no family in here. But luckily, Shuichi left that can of spray, and so she starts spraying all of these fuckers with spray in their face, and they run away.
They're like, it doesn't like. I guess it like makes them like.
Maybe wakes them up from the spell or whatever the fuck is going on. I still don't know exactly what was happening, but it's creepy. The fucking look on their faces is creepy.
What it was they were saying is only female mosquito. As Suichi, when they were talking, was like only female mosquitoes are the only ones that drink blood. It's only when they're pregnant, because that's how they get nutrients to
for their babies.
Baby mosquitoes.
Yeah.
So now we figured it out. That's what these ladies have been doing, and it's crazy because the next morning, when she wakes up, all the bodies that had been like drilled holes into are gone, and like nobody knows what happened. They're like
covered up.
Yeah, they're like, there was like a massacre here last night, and all of these people died and had their holes drilled into them. They're like, nothing. We don't know what you're talking about.
What are you talking about? And so basically, we find out in the next story that, which is kind of just a part 2 of this one.
Yeah.
That there's a doctor here who is working on coming up with placenta that like feeds people and like is all the nutrients they need. He starts giving people in this hospital like part of their salads and stuff.
Yeah, it's like, you try these new mushrooms I got.
Yeah, these new mushrooms I got, and it turns out it's placenta that is from the people who gave birth, and then it turns out that their babies that they gave birth to are like these weird fungus babies, and they're
like, put us back in our moms.
Yeah, they literally are trying to get put back into their mothers. Like, that's what their goal is.
Yeah, they start, like, these little babies start talking, and it's super fucking creepy.
Very creepy. And they end up putting them back inside Kiko, right?
Yeah, Kiko's like the experiment or whatever. They put the one back into Kiko.
Yeah, very creepy.
Yeah, and all the people like the some of the parents like get to try some of they're visiting and they're like, oh, these mushrooms are so good, and like that, I guess like the spiral from the placenta mushroom thing is like also puts you under a spell too.
Yeah. And but Kiko is actually able to, like, I guess because now she's infected with that baby or whatever, she gets like a spiral tongue comes out of her tongue and like kills the doctor while she's like just being sewn back up. She had just been sewn back up with the baby inside her, and then she goes after Kiri and pretty much everybody at the hospital that she can feed on or whatever, and just goes after him. But then it ends. It ends right there.
Yeah, and then Kiri gets out and she never goes back to the hospital, and that's the end of it.
Yeah. All right.
All right. Moving on.
That's what I was saying. Like, wait, Kiri was not like, I need to get the fuck out of this town.
Oh,
now.
also, her brother got out of the hospital like a week before she did, so that's why like he didn't get to experience any of this. He was just home. He was fine.
It's just her word against creepy baby mosquito vampire women or whatever.
Yeah.
creepy. So that's pretty much like those are the creepiest stories of this whole thing
by far.
And then we get towards the end of it, and basically things just keep getting worse and worse and worse in this town. Like the spirals basically make the town unlivable. Like there's a storm and it destroys the entire.
There's several storms. Hurricanes come and then they just sit and spiral over the town.
Right, and it just kind of ruins everything. So they end up having to leave. And they're so it's just her and Shuichi and her brother, and they're leaving the town. And then as they're running out of the town, it turns out her brother's got like the inflicted by the slug or the snail disease or whatever. So they're trying to like help him walk and shit, and he's not doing too good. But they run into a couple of guys on this path as they're trying to get out of there.
Yeah, they're like, I guess because there's like chaos has been really ensuing with a lot of the town getting destroyed from like the storms and stuff. There's like people who like have figured out how to like when like the little dust storms come up or like spiral storms come up, they're able to like handle themselves in it and like ride them, quote unquote, like dragonflies they say, or like it's very interesting. It's like people like riding the wave.
It's like people like I'm not leaving my goddamn house. Like,
yeah,
like I'm fine with it. It's fine. You know what? This is normal here. This is the new normal. So there's those people that stay, but that they're trying to get out of this town. But the path they take is supposed to take them over the mountains, and it just seems to go on forever. And they run into some people who also have a snail person with them, but they're like, nah, this is our snack. Like when we get like in the woods and we're hungry, we'll just eat this snail person. And so obviously they're like, Kiri is like, oh, we gotta make sure my brother doesn't get noticed by them, kind of thing. And one of the creepiest things I've ever seen in this book happens, where they're like, okay, well it's lunchtime, I'm fucking hungry, and so they they're like, should we cook the snail guy? And when I say snail person, I mean like it looks like their friend still. It just has a snail on its back, and its eyes can like pop out like a snail's. But
he's still got hair, like
and obviously still has feelings because it like tries to hide inside its shell. When they're like, let's stab it while it's still alive. Let's eat it, basically fresh.
They're like, let's try it raw.
Yeah, and so it hides inside its shell, and one of the guys just fucking follows it in there. And I thought, because he just keeps going deeper and deeper and deeper, that he was getting eaten or hurt by the slug or whatever.
Yeah, you hear like it has like the munch munch crunch sounds like all around it. So yeah, we think that he's getting pulled in and like getting eaten maybe.
Yeah.
But no, that's not it. They end up pulling they're pulling the friend out by his feet, and he's like, "Oh man, that was so tasty."
And as they're distracted, Suichi and Kiko and her brother get out of there because they're like, "Oh shit,
get the fuck out of here!
We got to get the fuck out of here." So they walk for a while more, and then it turns out, hey, we kind of ran back into these guys because this path is basically a big spiral or something, and it's not really going across the mountains like they thought.
Yeah.
So they run into them, and they're like, oh, man, we're so hungry. You see any more snail people around here? And they're like, no, we haven't. Yep. And they're like, well, that's weird. Your brother's got quite a bump on his back, huh? It's like, oh, it's a backpack. It's like, oh, okay, cool. Must be a big backpack or whatever. And then, like, the brother his back keep growing basically, and so now he's on top of Kiko's or not Kiko.
Suichi's back. He's like,
Oh yeah, Suichi's back.
He's like carrying him around now because he's having a hard time getting around.
Yeah, and so he and then all of a sudden the kids start sporting slug eyes. He gets those snail eyes popping out, and they're like, "Oh my god, we gotta hide him!" And then right before they can fully hide him, the guy sees his eyes. Like, I knew it. You guys have a slug, and they're trying to eat him. So now they're on the run from these people, and it's somewhat funny because I don't know if it's the spiral or just everything going on, but somehow gravity and time are different. Everybody's moving super slow. So it seems like they're running. They're trying to run full blast, but everybody's within a foot or two of each other.
Yeah.
They can't grab each other though. They're unable to move fast enough to get there or whatever, But they're all really close to each other. So I thought that was kind of.
I imagine they're running in little spirals basically.
Maybe that's what's going on.
Because there was earlier in the story, one of the ladies was trying to get around and she was having a hard time getting around because she could only move in spirals.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe that's what's going on. But basically, they release their brother, run, brother. Quickly, you must snail down the cliffside. And so they let the brother go down the cliffside. He gets away, actually. He goes to live his full snail life.
Full snail life, his mollusk life.
Yeah. And so, but the guys are pretty angry that happened. They don't get to eat their snail. And then they're talking about it. And this is where it got really creepy and gross. They're like, "Oh man, I can't believe you happened." And he's like, "Remember what our snail tasted like? Oh my god, he was so good. It was the sensation of being inside his shell, chewing on the soft parts of his face, lifting your whole body into those wet, wonderful curves." It's just creepy fucking way to describe eating your friend's snail body, which is creepy already. So
yeah,
basically, and everybody's getting grosser looking and more crazy and everything. So, as he's saying this, all of a sudden, all of their bodies, the people who ate the snails, turn into all their arms spiral, their legs spiral. They basically turn into big springs that all of a sudden happened in a second.
Yeah,
and so they're actually able to get away from them because of that. And as they do get away, they realize, hey, we haven't really gone anywhere. We're just right over the town again. They look at the town, which had been destroyed, and now it's one big spiral house. But it's a housing development that's a spiral that continues, just one giant house that continues down into a spiral. So they get into the city because they're trying to figure out, they're trying to find her parents.
Yeah, and it's basically like a labyrinth at this point they're trying to get through.
Yeah, she's like, where are my parents? They're the pottery people. And they go to the windows, and all they see are these spiral people. These people that are all spiraled out and sprung out, and they can barely talk, and they're all creepy and weird looking. And basically, then they keep pushing dead spiraled people out the windows, and hey, can you guys take care of this while you're walking out there?
Yeah, they're like, this room's full and this person's dead. So
and it really smells when they're here. So just take care of that, would you? And so they're having to collect the dead and everything. And this basically continues until. They're walking, and so we have Kiri, we have Suichi, and then there's another girl that's with them.
Oh yeah, she was a reporter that came to town during the storms. Mariyama.
Okay, so she's with them, and they're like, okay, we have to figure out how to get to the center of town because they hear that the potters are there. There's some people making pottery at the center of town, and so they're that must be my mom and dad because they're the only potters in town. So Kiri and Suichi are like, we got to go there. So this reporter is with them, and they see a break in the house, in the row of houses. And they're like, this is the only way to get through here because they basically are lost in the spiral.
Yeah.
And you'd think it'd be easy, but because the spiral's so big, it just doesn't make any sense, and everything looks the same. So they're like, oh, we can cut through here, kind of like a hedge maze or something. Like if there was a break in the hedge maze, and then it seals itself back up. That's basically what happens. They're getting through a little section that is open. And before they can fully get through, the reporter gets stuck inside, and she fucking dies. She just gets stuck inside of this fucking spiral thing. And then the funny thing is, right after that, it turns out all these inner houses are empty. They don't have spiral people in them.
Yeah.
So if she just got through that one,
she would have been okay.
Yeah, it would have been great. Well, I don't know about okay, but you would have got to the middle part here. So they finally reach the middle of this spiral. And there's a smoke cloud coming down, a little spiral smoke, kind of like when the dad died at the beginning and the smoke came down. So it's basically right in the center of town where the lake should be is gone, and now there's a giant set of spiral stairs just going into the earth.
And it just it goes on forever.
Yeah.
You cannot see the bottom.
They're like, might as well just walk all the way down. So as they're walking down, Suichi actually sees a spiral person on the stairs, and it attacks Kiri, but Suichi like grabs it off her, and then it like makes him fall off the edge. So he falls down. She's freaking out now because, of course, that happens.
Yeah.
It's just her now. So she runs down, basically like gets as far down as she can, sees like this giant tower below her, and she slips off the top of the tower because there's like a space between the end of the stairs and the tower top. So underneath the stairs is a whole other like land of the lost, we'll say.
Yeah, basically.
It's just a world of spirals, and all the people from the town that were in the houses, those houses actually emptied into this lake thing now. So there's no lake there. It emptied into this hole, and now they're all alive on the bottom of this thing. It looks like Indiana Jones when they break through that, and there's just
why'd it have to be
snakes all over the
snakes?
floor. It looks like that, but with people spiraling.
Why'd it have to be spiral people?
Yeah, why'd it have to be spirals? And so she falls down on this bed of people, finds out, Suichi's there, and like so they're together now in this place, and basically we are explained that this is
the ancient ruins
of some ancient civilization that's all about spirals, that multiple times a city has been built on this, and then eventually it does this. It breaks through. The spirals break through.
And it spirals down and brings it all down.
Exactly. And then eventually it'll break back up and then spiral down. So it's like an ebb and flow type of thing. And, basically they're left with that knowledge. And they're like, all right, well, I guess it's just me and you. They actually find her parents. They're turned to stone at the bottom of this thing. There's no way they're getting out of here. There's no way their parents are alive. So it's kind of like, well, what are we going to do? And they just kind of like hold on to each other. And all of a sudden their arms start spiraling together and they spiral together. So they'll be together forever in the spiral.
Yep. And when that happens, then the basically the tower of the spiral starts going up, and it like basically closes off and like becomes a flat like land again.
Yeah. I assume, for the lake to fill back up and another town to appear on it and whatnot. So, but yeah, that's pretty much the end of it.
The never-ending spiral story.
Yeah. So, John, what did you think? What would you give this one?
I mean, overall, it was a really cool anthology. I like that it was a lot of really weird stories that were centered around the same couple people, or like they at least had like parts in all the stories. But yeah, some of these stories were so fucked up.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
really, really good stories.
Yeah, and like again, like for like the ultimate being just like it's like weird, supernatural spiral civilization that like is just again always in motion, coming and going. Like that's cool and all, and like that that kind of is like a nice like okay, like that's why all of this shit happened. But some of the stuff was so fucked up. The Jack in the Box kid, the mosquito vampire. Pregnant women, the dad at the beginning getting it like I'm gonna contort myself and do a spiral. Like that whole the reveal of that was so like okay, I'm in this comic now. Like
yeah,
there's
what
some,
the fuck's
there's
going
some fucking
on?
shit going on.
Yes.
So yeah, I liked it a lot. I like two of these down. I'm in for some Junji Ito.
The next one's even longer, so we might have to break that one into two.
Two?
We'll see. I don't know if it's like this. This one was easier to do an episode on because we could just pick certain stories out of it.
Yeah.
And like describe them and go, that's what this kind of was like. And then the end, kind of thing. So the other one, if it's more of like a full narrative, that one might have to be two-parter.
Maybe we'll break it two. Well, either way, like I'm on board though. Like solid stuff. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. So what would you give it then?
I would give it an 8. I think this is a solid. Like, I definitely like if someone was like, oh man, I'm kind of getting into like the horror aspect of stuff, or like I like weird, B horror movies, and I'm getting into comics more. I would totally like, oh well, I don't know if you've read any manga, but like manga is just another form of comics. This is really cool. I've been getting into this. Check this out. And yeah,
this one might be even more accessible than others just because of the format,
Yeah, definitely, and begin because like you could technically, like, if you had this in like the individual volumes too, you could be like, oh, check out these these first 6 stories. You know, if it was like a shorter like snippet of it, and if you like that, you know, then you could continue on with the other ones, obviously.
Yeah.
But you could have just picked up and read the first 6 and still been like, whoa, that was messed up. Oh, there's more in this story. Oh, let me get those. Like, for real. Like, it was good. I feel like pretty much anybody who's like has like that little bit of like, ooh, I like creepy, weird, horrific kind of stuff. Like,
yeah, if you like the Twilight Zone, if you like Tales from the Crypt,
yeah,
you definitely watch all of these things. Or
for
read
sure.
This book, so.
Yeah. So, and of course, the art is fantastic.
Yeah, Junji Ito. He draws the creepiest fucking things.
Yeah, I things I never could have imagined.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure I will have nightmares about some of these things eventually. They'll creep in there.
I'll have nightmares about that guy saying, you know, he's gonna eat my soft face as he crawls into my snail shell.
Oh.
Jesus Christ.
Or like I want to be a spiral in your ear.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. So yeah, but solid 8. Like, it was fantastic. I totally read it again. I loved it.
Yeah, this one I'm also gonna give an 8 because, like I said, you could give this to anybody, I think, and it's a solid read. Like, no one's going to be like, well, that was bullshit or whatever. Like, very, very good story. The only thing, my only critique on this is, like I said, I think the narrator is supposed to be her after the fact. So that's why she's so, like, blasé or whatever. But I do think the ending is kind of like, all right. You know, like, okay, spiral civilization. Like, there's no, like, closure, really. Other than it's going to happen again sometime.
Well, I put it to like Poltergeist because it's like, oh, so it was built on this like ancient, you know, supernatural like burial ground kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's kind of like how I put it in my head, because I was kind of like, at first I was like that too, but I was like, well, they have to like give some kind of reason. So
no, I wish there was a little bit more something to
like
it.
what?
You know? I don't know.
Like what, Matt?
I'm not
like
as good as
he wrote this story. What are you gonna put there? Huh? I'm kidding.
Well, let me think about it for a second, and I'll tell you, John. Jesus Christ.
I'm kidding.
It's too late for that, John.
It is. No, it was. But you know, I get it. It was kind of like, oh, okay, well.
Yeah, to me, it just felt a little like that happens a lot of times though, in a lot of these anthology stories where you're like, the fucking story is so creepy and cool, and then the end happens, you're like, oh.
Exactly. Right. It's because you get some of the most fucked up stuff in there, and then at the end, that happens a lot in horror too, though. Like,
well, let me give you an example. So, like, here's an example of like why I'm like, okay, so why does her hair do that? You know what I mean? Like, if it's just it psychologically affects you, that's one thing, like the dad or whatever. But then why can the hair turn into like its own being? And
because that's how it affects
why
her.
do people turn into snails? Like, well, there was a supernatural aspect that I wished they had touched on in. Okay, maybe there's like. It's a demonic spiral thing where it's corrupting.
And it did different things to different people. Yeah.
Exactly. Something like that. Like, oh, it was an ancient, like you said, ancient burial ground. You can write off a lot of shit to magic or whatever. So if they said not just an ancient spiral civilization, but a demonic ancient spiral civilization or something where like the people sacrificed and fucked up shit happened.
Like to fuck with people or.
Exactly. The evil.
Yeah, because like that would make sense. Like, oh, that kid is slow, and then they turn him into a snail.
Yeah.
And then like, oh, the vein, you know, like that girl wants to be pretty or whatever, and then so it's
the
like
Jack in the Box kid.
Yeah, popping out exactly. Like though that would make sense. I see what you're going with. There.
Yeah, so that to me would be a little bit more satisfying, but I was like, okay with it. I'll write him a letter.
There you go. Yeah,
dear Mr. Ito, I think your ending sucks. Here's a better one.
Wow.
Sincerely, Matt Hansen.
That's horrible.
It's going to be in the.
He's not Stephen King. Okay.
He's going to do a volume 2 or like a second printing of it where it's going to be my ending, and then
he's be like, I just came up with this. It just came.
No, he's going to say, you know, credit to Matt Hansen. This was better.
Oh, okay.
And that's how my comic book career is going to start.
Man.
That's how I'm going to start my career. Like you said, I write Stephen King ideas about how his books could end better too.
Hey, I liked The Shining, but this would be better. Yeah. Anyway,
I like the way it ends in the movie.
Yes, tell Stephen King.
Well, anyway, so yeah, I give it an 8. You give it an 8. What are we reading next week, John?
Next week. Oh, first off, I cannot believe we're saying it at the end. This is our 100th episode.
Geez. I forgot.
Well, it's because So, truth be told, we recorded a couple today because we're getting some of our spooktaculars in there. But this is our 100th episode, guys. Thank you for sticking with us.
As our 100th main episode.
Yeah.
It's like our 400th
like
other episode. But yeah.
We're so tired.
Yes.
Please tell us you love us.
Please.
But seriously, 100 main episodes, 100 episodes of planes, trains, and comic books. You've stuck with us, or you're just jumping on with us now. You know, your YouTube, we're getting some comments, we're getting some feedback. We appreciate it.
Yes.
We really appreciate all of you guys. If you like us and you want us to continue great content, you want to suggest content to us, like, share, subscribe. We have a coffee now. Matt's definitely been like kind of putting all of our stuff together on this coffee platform. You can donate to us if you feel like
no pressure.
There's no pressure, but we do have some. We have one tier right now. We're going to be setting up more.
This is what I'm thinking for our tier. I'm going to throw this out there. If you guys want us to do it, we'll totally do it. What if me and John react on our YouTube channel to all of the DC animated movies and potentially the animated series too, like either Batman or like Justice League Unlimited or something? We could, or even like X-Men the animated.
Oh yeah,
something like that. We could do the Spider-Man one or something. We could mess around with it. But I for at first I was like, we should start just like, what's the first DC animated movie? Mask of the Phantasm. So we'll watch that and we'll do a little.
That sounds good. I mean, yeah, I've watched like bits and pieces of things, so that definitely would be a. For me especially, like, I would be like, whoa, like, yeah, let's.
And I haven't seen all of them either. You know, after you get past like the Return of the Joker for Batman Beyond, I'm kind of like,
And still, like, when's the last time you watched that too? So like, it definitely would be like a.
Yesterday. I watch it every day. But yeah, if you guys want to see that, I'm thinking about doing a reaction to those things because, like I said, most of them I haven't seen, and if I did see them, they were a long time ago when I was a kid. So. And John might not have seen him at all because he's not a DC head like I was. So, but that is what I'm thinking we're doing for a second tier or a third tier, maybe.
But so again, thank you for sticking with us to 100. Thank you, Matt, for encouraging me to do this with you because this has been a fun ride.
He lives here with a ball and chain on.
I do. I'm in the other room with Snowball, his dog, and I get a bowl of food and he gets a bowl of food.
Exactly, and it's the same fucking food.
But for real, this has been a really fun experience. And like Matt and I have already been close. You guys know that we obviously have close. We've been teasing each other through all of this, but like it has been really fun to sit here and like really get back into comics with my best friend. Like I cannot
indoctrinating him.
Yes, basically, DC is better now. I'm kidding. Man.
Now you
Marvel
see.
all the way.
Fuck you.
I'm kidding. No, it's all good. I like comics. I like all comics. But for real,
I like all comics except Marvel too. That's fine.
But again, I thank you for sticking with us through 100. Our next one is gonna be Baby Teeth.
Baby Teeth.
Matt showed me this, and I was like, yes, because we've already read a couple from the writer of this, Johnny Cates.
Yeah.
And I'm definitely like, I'm on board right now with him. Like, I'm ready. I want to read.
You're so on board with him. He's like so cool.
I'm really excited to like, because I want to read his, because I know they're doing the Null story right now too. I don't know if
they already finished it.
Oh, they did finish.
Already done.
I haven't looked at any of it because I wanted to wait for it all to come.
King in Black is done. So they are now. He's now writing Hulk.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So.
Either way,
and Thor.
I've enjoyed all the stuff we've read from him so far, and he's obviously like one of the big heavy hitters now. This is a horror one Matt showed me. I was like, yes, because I'm a big vampire.
Yeah, this is like one of his
story
indie ones, like one of his early indie ones. I think it's already on like issue like 30 or something, but it's called Baby Teeth. It just looked fucking creepy. It looks like Damien Vampire Baby is the front cover, so we just picked it randomly. I hope it's good. He's one of the hottest writers, so better fucking be.
It better. We will call you out on this, Don.
I will call you out, Donnie, and we'll go to your house. I know you somewhere around here.
Yeah, you are literally in the same town as us.
Yes,
we know.
We'll track you down.
We will find out where you are. I'm kidding. We are kidding.
I'm not.
But we're excited. Like I said, I'm a little biased to vampire to flicks. And
I don't even know if it's a vampire.
So, I mean, it looks vampire. We'll see.
We'll see. Maybe it's a demon kid or something.
Yeah, maybe I'll be like, oh, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
Anyway, excited. Baby Teeth.
Yeah, and then after that, we're gonna do My Friend Dahmer.
Yeah, our Halloween episode.
One. So yeah, and then be sure to look out for our Friday the 13th Spooktaculars, which we have a couple of those coming out
every week, Monday, Friday.
Exactly. If you guys have any comments, questions, or suggestions, you can email us at Planes, Trains, and Comic Books, all one word at gmail.com.
And don't forget about our Twitter, YouTube channel with exclusive content, and our Instagram. We're always putting out when we have new stuff coming out on there as well. So, yeah, I guess until the next one.
We will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.